What is going on, everyone? AP over here at Rumpier Sports, bringing to you. We got the lineup builder show with our partner Sabersim. We got Rubio Dimes. We got Statsational. My guy John down below me. Let's bring them in first, and then we will cover a few bases here. Rubio, what's going on, my man? Excited for football. How are you feeling today?
Oh, I am incredibly excited. I mean, I've already seen the Discord popping into chat with JBC in here talking about his uniques and stuff. I'm getting pumped. Like 150 lineups tonight. It's going to be a great time. And hopefully by the end of the night, I'm celebrating. You know, I can chop it without, maybe it's a solo meal. Maybe it's a chop. Either way, I'm going to top the leaderboard, AP. And we're going to do it on this show, too. I can't wait, man. And I know your Chiefs are playing tonight, so it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, I always get excited for these Chiefs slates. Obviously, I always have to disclose big Chiefs homer here, but I try not to let that bias factor in too much. Statsational, John, let's bring you in, my man. Our first show together. Very excited to be doing these with you all season long. I think we're going to have a ton of success. How's it going, man? How are you feeling about this first slate this week?
I feel like I'm never ready. That's how I feel about the first slate. But thanks. I appreciate you having me here. And yeah, I'm with Run Pure now, so I'm totally pumped about that. So that's the most exciting part for me of the new season. But man, it seems like it takes forever because we start looking at this stuff in like June, you know, with our season long leagues and everything, and then it sneaks up on me just the same. So we'll be ready though for tonight. A little showdown action and some bets maybe.
Yeah, very good. Before we dive in, and I'll give a little overview of the process today, but I want everyone out there, hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Helps us out a lot. Helps us to grow our platform here on YouTube. We got a promo going on right now. NFL 17% off for life. If you like what you're seeing, go over to runpuresports.com. Check out our the different packages that you can buy. Try out the Sabersim package. You can try it out for a week, try it out for a month. Use the promo NFL 17% off. I want to give everyone a real quick rundown because these showdown slates we're bringing to you a lot of content. So just today alone, we have obviously the show that we're on right now. After this, and this is a premium piece of content, I believe it's going out for free though. We got the cash breakdown. So any cash players out there, we got Mangone and Third and Schlong bringing that content to you. After that, we got the Print Factory with Big T, JSU, and Whistles Go. Woo! I don't know if I did that good, but I tried. And then we got the Showdown Kings that are going to bring you up to lock. I'm really excited for this show. We got our guy Wiley, and we got JBC that are going to take you all the way up to lock right before this slate tonight. It's going to be an important show as well. Like, I don't think Travis Kelce's playing today, but he is questionable. So maybe they throw a curveball, and maybe the injury that he had isn't that bad. So we got a full agenda for you today. We're going to have this agenda every Monday and Thursday. On Sundays, we have our main slate content, as we always do, starting early, 8:45 with the Off the Chalk show, going up to the Print Factory, the Morning Wood, and then we take you up to lock. And then we have an Up to Lock Showdown show Sunday night, too. So we are absolutely stacked. I do want to hit on a few new tools. And, John, I'm going to bring you in for these. We got stack probabilities, positional matchups, and weekly power ratings. You want to just give a high-level overview of what those are going to look like and how the people can use those, or the Run Pure Sports subscribers can use those each and every week.
Yeah, so I mean, probably the most benefit I'm going to be giving being a part of Run Pure is just some of the tools and sheets that I've been using with JBC for years now. So I'm bringing them to you guys. We've got, I think the first thing that I've shown to some of the subscribers in our Discord that they seem to really like and want to and can't wait to see it in action is the stack probability sheet. And I've been using this for years. I actually really, now that it's going to be consumed by the public, most of these things were just for my purposes. I really wanted to improve on them, right? Because I can use things for myself, and they don't always have to be 100% accurate. I can kind of figure it out exactly what the sheet is telling me because I'm the one building it. So it really gave me the opportunity over the summer to dive in deeper and make the stack probabilities even more accurate than they were before. So now I'm using correlations between the quarterback and the pass catchers in order to really dial in the probabilities that a stack, and when I say stack, we're looking at a quarterback with one pass catcher, and I'm looking for the probability that stack hits 60 points. That's about where you want to be on the best stack, the stack that's going to win you the millie. You're hoping to get 30 from both your quarterback and that number one pass catcher. So you're looking for that 60 number. Obviously, some weeks it's going to be a little lower. Some weeks it may be a bit higher, but that's the target number that we're looking for. And then I'm going to give you the probability. It might be 5 or 6% on that top stack of the week, and that's going to help you guys build. I'm going to break down the salary attached to that, so what the points are per dollar on that, and then also what percentage of that stack is strictly the quarterback and what percentage is strictly the pass catcher, because sometimes you get a running quarterback and the bulk of that may be associated with the quarterback and not necessarily the pass catcher. So they may not always be a great stack option. So we'll keep improving on it. I'm going to get some feedback, of course, in our Discord, but that is one tool that I think a lot of people are going to like, because it's going to be a really quick and easy way, especially if you're playing one lineup or three lineups, where you could just look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to take the best 3 stacks, or I'm going to move down. Maybe I'm going to take some lesser owned stack. That's like the 5th or 6th option, and I don't think it's going to be really highly owned. I'm going to jump on that one. It's going to give you a really quick and easy way to find some of the best stacks on the board.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I'm also a big flowchart guy. That's something I do for NBA, and so I'm excited also for the positional matchups, looking at that, and also the weekly power ratings. We also got JT Hayes coming out with his new contrarian contenders. This is going to be premium piece of content, Millie Maker focused, trying to find that leverage. And we also have Glock's weekly review that's going to come out each and every week. That's more of contest selection and bankroll management strategy, which I think is really important to have. Everyone has different strategies and different goals in mind, and that's going to be more focused on that. So really excited for those pieces of content as well. Enough of that. Actually, we did have one question. I believe it was, how do I sign up for Sabersim? Go over to runpuresports.com, go over to our packages, click on the Sabersim package. You can sign up for a week, for a month, for a year. Use the code, though, NFL17, 17% off for life. All right, Rubio, I've done enough talking. So here's how we've done this show in the past, and Jordan and I have done it. Jordan is obviously a main guy over at Sabersim, does an excellent job. We really want to show everyone how we're using this tool, Sabersim's tool, to build our own lineups and everything. So I always start off with the base build. But Rubio, let me kick it over to you. Kind of guide us through what we're looking at right here. Maybe give the people a high-level overview of some of the changes and the new look that Saber has for us.
Yeah, I mean, Saber's really kind of changed up their game a little bit. They have a Sabersim Classic mode, which is more what people have been used to over the last couple of years. But they just changed it to, what is it, Sabersim, was it 3.0 or 2.0? I think it's 3.0 at this point. And basically, it's got huge improvements really across the board. We have the sim feature now, which Sabersim's got a lot of pride and joy in the sim situation here. And the college football streets is where I used it for the first couple chances that I had. I've had very good impressions with it, and we can build 1,500 with our standard, RPS subscription. I'm very curious to see how it does for NFL AP. I think it's going to look awesome. This is going to be a great tool that we can use. Maybe, who knows if the sims are going to work, but it should be a good time. But some new looks that you might see, a little bit of UI changes that you'll see here. If you guys ever want to organize position or just edit columns, you can do it all by right-clicking now. A lot of the process is just mainly right-clicking nowadays. That's what people are used to. You still have your number of lineups, pool size, all that looks the same. You got your lineup, rules that you can set. And obviously now they have a new thing called contest sim settings as well. And you can still, if these sims aren't for you, you still have your classic optimizer mode where you can organize everything. They added the randomness feature right here, where, if you do use optimizer, randomness is a big thing for you. But yeah, basically just a lot of improvements across the board, and been working through the kinks the last 2 weeks, and I'm very excited for what it's got on hold for us to start the year.
Another thing too, and this is something that I use a lot, but I like cloning my build. So again, use that right click up top on your build. because I'm the type that, I'm going to make a lot of different changes. And so I like getting all my settings in place, ready to go. And I do that in build one, and then I'll clone it like 3 or 4 different times so that when I actually make my builds, I don't lose those. I can always go back to them. But then if I want to make adjustments, in addition to my base settings, I do that in builds 2, 3, 4, and 5. So just another nice feature there. Rubio, go ahead and run us a base build. I want to see kind of so our settings right now, we're running 150, pool size 1500. We have sim diversity all the way down to 1. We're trying to simulate kind of like a cash type build. We're looking for those projected optimals off of an average of RPS and Sabersim projections. You can load whatever projections in that you want. I always like then sorting by highest projected, and this should give us some type of idea of where the industry is going to be at. Do you have any additional comments on that, Rubio?
Yeah, no, I think sorting by projected score, seeing how, these cash entries, maybe single entry lineups that you can kind of pick through. I know that we talked about this last week with John Mangone and I were on the show, and using stack exposures. Obviously, that's a little less prevalent on a showdown slate, but I've been using that a lot for college football, John, is when we can click stack exposures, you can see, how many wide receivers, running backs are paired with your quarterback, stuff like that. And you can really use that tool once we build out this 1500 here. I'll just click it real quick and, we can go over that feature. I think that one's really good because what it helps me do is it helps me identify stacks that probably have a very slim shot at being optimal. And sometimes you might see your quarterback stacked with 3 weapons, and I usually like to max it at 2. So you'll see here, a lot of 5-man stacks that we can just narrow in on with the magnifying glass. And the first one you see is a Patrick Mahomes completely naked captain. Probably not going to work, right? It'll work, right? We just hit that trash can at the top. Now it's out of our pool. And, if we want to bring it back, what I do is I just fiddle with the uniques, and then basically it already deleted that build. And now the next one is another naked Mahomes, right? These probably wouldn't work. And that's why you narrow down the 5-man stacks and you're able to kind of slim through them. Obviously, it's a lot of naked Patrick Mahomes in these builds, but let's go ahead and sort by projected score here just so we can see the top lineup AP. And you can see right here, it's got a mini stack with Mahomes at captain.
Yeah, and we're assuming that Travis Kelce doesn't play. And one reason when you go, all right, so another tool that we have that we just introduced this year's Past Showdown Optimals. And the one unique thing that I've seen that we see more often than not with Kansas City is Patrick Mahomes in the captain spot. And we saw that, I believe, 8 times last year. And it was, I think, 11 games in total where the quarterback, either opposing quarterback or Patrick Mahomes was in the captain spot. The reason that happens is because Mahomes spreads the ball around. And you rarely see one of his, I think MVS was captain at one time, and then it's Travis Kelce is the second highest skill position player for Chiefs showdown optimal builds. So the reason is just Patrick Mahomes, spreads the ball around. So we are going to have to, with Kelce out, we're going to have to make some adjustments, and that's what we're going to walk through and do on the show. I do want to kick it to you, John. Talk to me a little bit about your philosophy and strategy when it comes to showdown, because you guys are primarily playing, MME, right? 150, targeting the milli, whereas I'm more in the 3 max, 4 max streets. But talk to me about your philosophy when it comes to showdown.
Yeah, we MME exclusively for just about every contest that we play in, and in every sport. When we look at the showdowns in the NFL, NBA also, we narrow it down to just the top plays usually. And in a slate like tonight, it might be really minimal as far as when I say narrow it down, we narrow it down the captain spot. So on a slate like tonight, like you said, Mahomes can generally be the captain, but might spread the ball out so much that a lot of his pass catching options will not make it to captain. So it's one of those nights where I think we're going to see a huge percentage on Mahomes. We might not even use much Goff at all. But typically we're going to have both quarterbacks at the captain position every single time when we run it. And then depending on the game and what the other team, tonight it might be just Mahomes, Goff, and St. Brown. Like we may just do that as our 3 captains and then run it that way. And we'll probably get a big chunk of Mahomes, but we'll make sure that we have at least one Mahomes pass catcher in the lineup with him as well. Like you were looking at those stacks, the naked Mahomes. We probably won't have any of those builds. So we'll narrow it down. The odds are on a slate like tonight, we're going to be in a big chop, but I'd rather chop than lose and playing, suboptimal type of lineups. Now, the thing about playing the MME, we've had nights where we've scooped like the 100,000. I think we had one on Thanksgiving a few years ago. And it was just, you're going to get some wacky type of lineups where we had both quarterbacks. It was Breeze and Atlanta quarterback Matt Ryan. It was both of those quarterbacks against I think we might have had both defenses as well. So it was one of those, or the defense against whichever quarterback we had at captain was optimal, and it wound up scooping because it was a little wacky. So when you play 150, you could get a little crazier maybe with the plays outside of the captain and still hit. So we hit a scoop with the chalky quarterback at captain, yet we had a little bit of a differentiation, or a lot in that case, where no one else had it with the rest of the lineup. So that's kind of how we play it. I think if you're playing a single entry or maybe a 3 max in a large GPP and you want to get a little crazy with it, by all means, go ahead. You're going to kind of have to do that in order to win, but you could still do that with you don't need to go down to Khalif Raymond, let's say, or whatever, and put them at captain. You could still differentiate yourself and make yourself a unique lineup with one of the chalkier plays at the captain spot.
Yeah, very good. And my kind of philosophy, just reviewing my results from last year, is I had much better success in 3 max. And basically, I'm just like what you said, I'm nibbling at these edges, because you get these players that are just, being too cute. Even in 3 max single entry type of formats, you're going to see defenses. It's small, but you do see a % or so of defenses captain, kickers and captain, and wide receiver 2, 3, or RB2 and captain. And so really just nibbling at edges. I had it the same too. I'm looking at this and it's Mahomes, it's the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, or Goff. And even when you go and you just pull up the Pass Showdown optimals, so right now over at Rumpier Sports, you can do that. You can see all of last year, the Kansas City optimals, and then you can see all of the Lions optimals. And if you go down to the Lions, you see a lot of opposing quarterbacks. If you go to the Chiefs, you see a lot of Patrick Mahomes. What is that? Yeah, past results isn't indicative of future results, but still, it seems highly likely that a Patrick Mahomes captain is a likely optimal outcome. Rubio, do you have any additional thoughts or, kind of theories of philosophy when it comes to showdown building?
Yeah, I'm trying to soak in as much as possible from guys like JBC and Statational here. And obviously, we got a lot of new people coming in. And it's been last year, we had that huge hit in October, I think it was, with the Cowboys Giants slate that really propelled the year. But sometimes I've been treading water. And a lot of it has to do with the process. And I talked about this in the last week. I completely changed my process back in about December of last year, and it's led to my best year ever. And literally, just learning what better players say. And I'm not afraid to say JVC and John and them are better than me at all. They are much better, and I'm listening to them, their process. When you guys are in the Discord, it's not just subscribers listen. I'm also listening too, because I always want to better myself, and I always want to better the content for the people. So.
John, look at John. He hates when we stroke him, because I agree with you, man. I've already learned a lot from these guys, and I can just see him down there shaking his head, stop it. But no, these guys are literally the best when it comes to showdown. So I'm with you, Rubio. I'm with you 100%.
And that, even using that for the preseason stuff, with these uniques. And I know when JVC put into the Discord earlier today about what he's doing with his uniques, I paid attention. And I like the fact that, we might, if I'm running 150, I might be a little bit more aggressive with my captains a little bit, but you can have the 3, almost the top scorers here. I guess you can maybe add in Gibbs, maybe add in Montgomery, but you want the highest scorer in the captain position. I'm done trying to get cute anymore, in the captain spot. It's not something that I really ever want to do and just punt the captain anymore. So, yeah, I'm kind of with them. I can't wait for this season. I can't wait to see it in action tonight, AP.
Yeah, I'm with you. And yeah, I like that I'm already aligned with Statsational down there on our captain op. So let's start running some builds. Let's start. So we already ran kind of our base build, and I saw some flaws in there. And John, let me kick it back to you. I think the top projected optimal. Now we do still have to review our projections, and I do love the process that we have. Speaking of our projections, we have a whole committee now that's reviewing these projections, and those reviews are happening throughout the week. So make sure you update the projections much closer to lock. I know we're going to be doing a review this afternoon, and then for the main slate, I believe Bryce and Statsational and Mangone are reviewing it. I believe Fridays or Saturdays as well, and then waiting for any final, last minute news that comes too. So that's going to be a nice process that we have in place this year. But one flaw I've seen is a lot of those top projected optimals that we got in the space build were 5-1s with Mahomes at captain. So John, let me kick it down to you. What do you start doing in your process to start introducing uniques or fine tuning your 150 lineups?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just so unique here because of the fact that there's so many options on the Kansas City side. That's why you're going to see the build, right? The projections are spread out, so that's why you're seeing so few of the pass catchers on the Kansas City side. So, and that may change as projection. We get a little bit more info on Kelsey. If Kelsey was in here, you'd be seeing obviously a lot more paired Mahomes-Kelsey lineups. But you're going to want to get more of a mix of maybe two pass catchers in there with Mahomes, at least one, of course, and even more. So what you're going to have to do is, again, go back to that stack exposure sheet. That's how I do it. We're not going to run a ton of uniques on this slate. Sometimes there's going to be more unique because we're probably going to have a lot of we're going to have value on the cheap guys, and we're going to have a lower salary. Right. If this was some slates where we've got pretty standard, the top players are really going to be the ones that are going to score. We'll have a higher salary min. But on here, I'd be looking at the stack exposures. We're going to have a low min salary this week or tonight. And I'm going to be looking at that stack exposure sheet, getting rid of those 5s. I'm not going to play any naked Mahomes. I'm going to want to make sure that we get at least one pass catcher. You can even set that in your build where you're just looking for one, but I like to do it with the stack exposure sheet, go through that and just get rid of those 5s and then go from there. So that's how I would go about making sure that I've got at least one pass catcher in there with Mahomes. So you could also run through, it depends on how much time you have as well. Some of these are not going to be the pass catcher. You're going to get the running back here with Mahomes as well. And I would prefer to have one pass catcher in the lineup with Mahomes on my build.
Yeah, very good. So one additional question there: when you talk about a lower minimum salary, is there a number that you're typically putting in? Do you leave it 0, or are you always putting a number in there for the min?
It's going to depend. Tonight, I haven't looked at it as closely yet, just because it's always going to depend on how many of these cheaper options are viable here. So once we have like these $200 players that you can use, you still don't want to go too low on the min, because we want to make sure that we're getting some of the better players mixed in there. But yeah, I think 45,000 would probably work. It's one of those where you got to kind of run that first build and just make sure that you're getting enough. Put it at 45,000. Make sure you're getting enough of the cheap players that have a shot in this game of getting in the end zone. Really, that's what you're going to need from any of these low cost players. Is you're going to need a touchdown most likely, and you're gonna have some options here at a low price tonight to do that. So it's really, I can't give you a hard and fast number on it. It's one of those things you're going to have to play with. If you put this at 49,000, which is typically the highest we'll have the min on a slate where we're confident with the higher cost guys. If you put it at 49 tonight, you're probably not going to get the right mix. So I would start at 45, see if you like the mix, excuse me, that you get, and then adjust it from there.
Yeah, I agree with you and absolutely love it. I mean, you got Justin Watson, who's a min 200 price player. And if Kelsey's out, I mean, he obviously has rapport with Mahomes. He's kind of a glue guy. He can find the holes in the zone. I mean, he doesn't have much upside, but if he gets 37-yard catch or a couple of them at 200, he could be optimal. But with that, and the reason why that minimum salary is so important is a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown has such a high floor that you don't want multiple min price guys in your lineup. It's more of a mix and match type of game. Rubio, let's keep going with this. Go over to the captain spot. I think we all agree, at least for this next build, let's limit our captains to Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you want to add anyone else in there, we definitely can. But I really like those few guys. Do we want to mess around with like putting in like a max cap on the exposure, or just let it be?
Let's let it run here. Let's let it the sim run. We'll do this time instead of single entry focus, we can do just the big GPP, the milli maker. Kind of set it at over 50,000 entrants, set them in salary, and just let the sim diversity do its thing. I got a rule set with Mahomes, a minimum one pass catcher. I don't know if you guys saw it while I was building that. I don't know. You guys cool with that? If we run that rule? Actually, I see it's gone now. We'll cut out.
Yeah, I like that rule but I think it's negated anyway because you got rid of the 5-1s.
Perfect. Anyone we want to bump too, just real quick. I bumped up Justin Watson when you mentioned him. We can bump up. Let's act like Kelsey sits. We don't have to give away everything, but let's just bump up some guys, right?
I mean, let's talk about Blake Bell real quick. I mean, Stats. Let's ship it back to you. I mean, you had a personal experience with this guy not too many weeks ago. What was that? 2 weeks ago? When was that hurricane?
It was like 2-3 weeks ago. And in all honesty, I didn't even realize I was talking to Blake Bell. I knew he played. I knew he played because he was telling me he's like, I just got cut from the Chiefs, and it was already pretty late in the night, and we were just talking about DFS. He was more interested in the DFS stuff, like how I do this than I really was about football, because I didn't realize that he was in the league as long as he was, and it didn't hit me till the next day that I was chatting to Blake Bell. I looked it up. I'm like, I wonder who the Chiefs cut this week at tight end, and I looked it up. It was Blake Bell. So it's good to see him in there. I'll be rooting for him since we had a pretty good conversation about fantasy and what is, he was just intrigued because he wasn't really familiar with it.
That's such a great story. And I mean, Kelsey being gone is would obviously be massive, but we've seen Kansas City get it done in multiple ways. One guy, Kadarius Toney, now his snap share is always, it's always unattractive, but I will say when he's on the court, just using NBA terminology, his usage is incredible when he's out there. And this is just, the eye test and then looking back at a few stats, but it's like whenever he's out there, they are scheming a play typically towards him, or it's some other designed play elsewhere, but he's always going to be involved when he's out there. So I do think Kadarius Toney would be an interesting play to talk about. Rubio, I did want to get your opinion on this because everyone knows my opinion, or at least most people do. Who do you think is going to cover tonight? Or who are you on?
I don't know if you know this, AP, but sports betting is now legal in Kentucky as of today. And I'm heading to the sports book right after this show to bet the Lions money line. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
There's always next week. I've had this talk with Tony so many times. I'm like, Tony, you got a problem of betting against my Chiefs. And it just always ends in a painful way. And that's what's going to happen tonight. So my advice to you, Rubio, would be join Statsational on the right side, the sharp side, which is Kansas City. All right. So, in all honesty, we had a local where the line dipped to 4.5, and so I had to get that. I had to plop some money down on that because I just thought it was too good.
I don't blame y'all, but I got 5, 6, 7 other bets tonight to place. Who cares if I lose the Lions, right? I see Statsational just posted an MLBK prop that has just been awesome lately, and I am going to just jam those. And you know what? If I lose the Lions plus money dogs, I'm cool with that. But
all right. Speaking of the bet, we got to give a plug for the bet side because you guys have been killing it. Stats, you, JBC. 7-0 yesterday, right? Our guy Snyder, I saw him in the chat. He's like 12-1, 12-2. Things are looking nice. So I know a buddy's texting me every day, and I'm just telling him, go in the Discord. I'm like, I can't spoon feed this to you. We got it cleaned up too on the bet side as well. If you haven't experienced it yet, what you should do is if you get the membership that includes Sabersim, the bets package is thrown in there. But we only have 2 channels on the bet side now. We have a channel where you can chat, you can talk bets, strategy, all of that. And then we have another channel that's locked that people that are approved to post bets, they post bets in there. So you can almost treat it like an app. You can turn alerts on for that channel, and anytime a bet is posted, you're going to get an alert, and you can get the line that you're seeing when they're posting it. Go check your sports books. You'll probably most likely be able to get a similar line that whoever's posting it got it at. So I love the system. It's really clean. 7-0 yesterday. Is that right, Rubio?
It is. We had 2-0 in FIBA World Cup bets. We had 2-0 on pitcher props, and then 3 others as well.
Oh, absolutely love to see it. Rubio, let's go back to you. What are we seeing right here after we added some bias and some rules into our build?
Yeah, so the biggest thing with the Sims, and this is what I noticed with college football, is that it has heavily correlates your teams. I mean, what Sabersim is proud of is that they do a play-by-play simulation, and that's why it took a little bit of time. So you can definitely tell that they're simming the games because it does take a little bit of time. Anyone that's using Sabersim for the first time, I recommend leaving a little bit of time before lock. Don't do it right before lock. It takes some time to build out these lineups, but you'll immediately see our top lineup now with the rank of 1. It gives us, how many times it was optimal in the sim. And you'll notice it's 4-2 Chiefs. We were spoon-fed a lot of 4-2 Lions, 5-1 Lions, and we bumped some Chiefs up now. And you'll see it's a 4-2 here with Mahomes as captain, Noah Gray, Sky Moore. I mean, this is a lineup, without Amon-Ra St. Brown, surprisingly, that I actually kind of like. And then you just kind of go down the list. We can see our captain exposures. Mahomes with a projection. We can tune these projections a little bit. We're using an average right now between RPS and Sabersim. And Mahomes, obviously going to hit the captain a little bit more. 54.7%. We've talked about running how many uniques tonight. We have 1 or 2. If you ever want to change this number, you think it's too high, click the 2. You'll immediately see Mahomes dropped a little bit, Amon-Ra rose a little bit, and then some of these other guys dropped. I'll let you guys see it right here for the flex. Certain guys like, our chalk options kind of rose there when we have a unique of 1. But when you do higher uniques, it kind of disperses the builds a little bit more. And you'll see that a lot of the guys like Goff, Amon-Ra, and Mahomes kind of drop just a bit. But yeah, I think these lineups you'll see here, honestly, this one, I really like this one right here, just off the bat. With Mahomes with Gray, I'm actually a big fan of Reynolds tonight too. So I think the Sims look really good, AP, early. And we can go to stack exposure here in a little bit, but I'll let you guys speak.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a really tough fade. I will say, again, on the Chiefs side, their secondary, they obviously have more experience together now, and you got some guys in the secondary that I think are absolute studs. Trent McDuffie, obviously going into his second year. Justin Reed, Jalen Watson's improved a little bit. L'Jarius Sneed, another guy who's been great, and then their linebacking core, Willie Gay, obviously took a huge step. They're going to be missing Chris Jones, which is a huge hit to the Kansas City front. And you got to think that Jared Goff is not going to see the pressure that he would face if Jones was in there. I still think Spagnuolo is going to have a very aggressive game plan, and they're going to throw different schemes, different blitzes at Goff. But man, what I'm getting at is I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is a tough fade just with the volume that he's projected to get. Stats, you got any thoughts on some of these builds that we're seeing? The 4-2s, Kansas City side. I'm a fan, obviously, of the 3-3s, but do any of these just kind of pop off the page to you?
Well, first, let me. I'm going to touch on one of the other tools that we have and just let you know from last year what we're looking at. So I have the tool that there's a sheet that you're going to see in the on our site and in the Discord. Basically, it's going to show how a team is performing at each position. I think you were mentioning you have something similar in NBA. So it's what a team gives up above or below the average at that position for that team. So last year, when you look at quarterback, I mean, Detroit and Kansas City were 2 of the worst teams against the quarterback. Obviously, Kansas City was the best team at quarterback fantasy-wise and just ahead of Philadelphia. So when you look at it, if things hold, of course, like you said, history doesn't always repeat. But if we can, the only thing we go off of last year's stats, we should expect both quarterbacks here to have a big game. And if both quarterbacks are going to have a big game, that means we're going to have some pass catchers as well mixed in. So the only thing I would say on the builds are you're going to have to make sure you have the pass catchers in there. If you have a quarterback in the lineup, you're going to want a pass catcher with it. So even if you play a Mahomes at the captain, you play Goff in the in the utility spot or flex spot, whatever they call it, then you're going to probably want to have at least one more of the Lions in there with him, and you're definitely going to want your captain to be paired with a pass catcher. So I think you want really a lot more of at least two. You're going to have at least the 4 2s and 3 3s than necessarily. You could have some 5 1s in there. I'm getting rid of any nakeds. I'm not doing any of that. But I think your primary build is going to be 4 2s and 3 3s.
Yeah, very good. And the tool you're talking about, for NBA, I call it flow chart. But again, just looking at positional matchups, sometimes in DFS, we get too cute. We galaxy brain it, and it just comes down to play the plays that are projecting well. There are always going to be ways to get different. You can do that by introducing, min-price players in a situation that we potentially have tonight with Kelsey sitting. That's going to be one. And sometimes you're faced with the spot that it's just, you're likely to dupe. I think tonight, you're right. You mentioned that at the start of the show, that we're most likely going to be in a spot where the winning lineup, the Millie Maker, is probably going to be a dupe unless we see a script that's just way, way, way out there. And that's just not how I play, not how you guys play, it seems like, either. And Rubio, do you have any additional comments on that? I do want to talk about game scripts as well. So if not, I want to talk about because I love also projecting, like when I'm running my 3-max or 4-max strategy, I like mapping out a few different game scripts and adjusting projections based off of that. Not like completely like changing the projections a ton, just slight bump ups, bump downs based off of the optimal that align with game scripts that I see playing out.
I don't know. I'm really excited to hear the new tools that we got on site. I mean, that's always been something that I've always wanted, and I'm really glad that we have a ton of tools for football this season. NBA, the flow chart was one of my favorite charts. AP, we always attack centers against Charlotte and San Antonio. That's going to be no different this year. When we find out some weak points in some defenses, like obviously Chris Jones missing tonight. Obviously, he wasn't a training camp or anything with this holdout, but yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a big deal. I know that Montgomery's rushing prop has risen a little bit too. So that's something to keep track of. Obviously, in these sims that we did, we got 46.7% Montgomery. None of it in the captain because we limited our captain pool. But yeah, I think that's very good. I don't really have anything else to add. I did like this here, just kind of emphasize that you don't need to use all your salary tonight, right? 48-7, and this is a lineup that you just look at, you're like, dang, that makes a lot of sense. Not saying it's like completely optimal or anything, but you get the rookie, you run a first-round pick, you get Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you get 2 pass catchers with Mahomes at captain. Like, these are the type of builds that, showcase. So you don't need a min salary of $49,000, or you don't need to use $49,900 to get a good build. You can have plenty of builds here that, you use less than $49K that actually make a ton of sense tonight.
That is my one fear. And so, Vinny, appreciate you in chat. He thinks it ends 35-30. And again, I think points are going to be scored. I think we all do. But my one fear is, and when I'm building my 3-max strategy, and when I'm talking about these game scripts, is when you think about the Lions, like they don't want to get in a shootout with Mahomes. And if they can establish the run and put up yards with Montgomery and Gibbs, obviously, they're going to lean on that. And then on the KC side, assuming that Kelsey is gone, that's Mahomes' main weapon there, main safety valve, everything. Pacheco's a hard runner. We could see a script basically where each team takes a more balanced approach. And so that would be a game script that's pretty different than what we've ran here, because I don't think we're getting too many running backs. I mean, there's a running back build right there. Actually, can you see how many running backs that we're getting in the flex spot, Rubio?
Yeah, 100%. So we can see here that Pacheco 24.7%, McKinnon about 21%, Montgomery 47%, and then Jahmyr Gibbs. Doesn't look like we're getting a ton of Jahmyr Gibbs. There he is, 58. Actually, we are getting a ton of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Stats. Let me kick it back to you. Game scripts, anything like that? Is that anything that you build into your process, or not typically? Like, is there any scenario where you have an Isaiah where it's so Chiefs are favorites, they're home, a correlation that that gets talked about if the Chiefs were on the main slate would be running back paired with the defense, and then it's the opposing team is obviously going to be playing catch up, so you would have Goff and plus a receiver. Is that any type of thing that you factor in when it comes to showdown?
Not typically, right? So we do probably a lot less of that type of analysis than maybe other people. I think when you're building single entries and three maxes, that's where you really, I think you actually have to know a lot more when you do that. And that's where that would come in, where you're looking at game scripts and whatnot. We've got like a process here, and we're basically running that model and that process over and over and over again, and hoping that it hits every so often, and that's how we'll be profitable. I think the people who play cash and single entry and three max, they're really getting they're in there looking at specific lineups, and they're making those choices. They're looking at the cornerback matchup with the wide receiver. They're looking at we never look at that for MME. So, and I know a lot of the top MME players in the world, because you meet them at these live events, and a lot of them are similar, right? They're not breaking the game down as much as we do on shows like this, and as a lot of players and people who come up and ask me those type of questions. So it's almost hard for people to understand that when they because most people, I think, they don't play 150 max. They're playing 3 max, maybe even a 20 max, where you can go through every one of those lineups yourself and sort of figure out what the exact correlation is that you want, or the exact game script and how it's going to play out. When you listen to all these shows, they'll talk about the game script, and we don't necessarily do that. So it's a little different when you are a 150 MME type of player. We're not as concerned about game script. So hopefully that understand, if I was playing one entry, for sure, I'd be looking at that. One thing I did want to say, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, when we're limiting, as we're doing now, we're kind of limiting it to the 3 captains. You're going to see a lot of people, like I said, with 1 entry or 3 max entry, and they're going to say, well, I know everyone's going to be on Mahomes, so I'm going to get off of I'm like, or even worse, I'm not going to put Mahomes in any of my lineups because everyone's going to have him. Well, you're just banking on the fact that he gets hurt, right? Because he's going to be in the winning lineup tonight. I'll probably, whatever, I'll come back and eat my words tomorrow if that doesn't happen. But there's a reason he's going to be in like 90% of lineups tonight, whether at the captain or in a flex spot. So, and we do this for most sports too. If that guy's going to be that highly owned, when we're MMEing, we're typically just going to be all, like, if a guy's going to be 90, we're just going to be all in. Like, we don't look to fade players that are going to be that high, because they're that high owned for a reason. So now we'll just figure, okay, we lock button that player in. He's going to be in every lineup, and now we'll get a little bit more diverse with the rest of the lineup. So you try not to overthink it. Try not to, we know Mahomes is the best player. We know he's most likely going to be the highest scorer. Doesn't have to be. St. Brown obviously can beat him here, but don't just totally dismiss the best player on the board and throw him out of your lineups. I'd much rather you take a shot with the second tight end and mix him in the lineup than not have Mahomes at all.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And John, I believe we're both kind of from the finance world. So an analogy that you could use is, if you're a portfolio manager, when you're running 150, you are in a sense a portfolio manager, and you're managing, your exposures to these players. But if you're trying to beat the S&P 500, you're most likely going to construct a similar portfolio to the S&P 500. You're going to nibble at edges, though, in different spots. Like, you're not going to, like Apple, for example, is probably one of the highest weighted stocks in the S&P 500. You're not going to fade Apple. You're going to probably be overweight Apple, and then you're going to find edges elsewhere. Would you say that's a correct analogy?
I never thought about it that way, but it's 100%. I like that analogy quite a bit. Yeah, you're going to make, if you're going to beat the S&P 500, which is extremely hard to do, as you know, you're right. Yeah. You basically need to be matching the S&P 500, and then you have to stock pick at the edges, like you said. And that is really you basically summed up our theory on mass multi-entering quite well. So we tend to be in the bulk. We try to be really close to the market, and then we're going to have some spots where we are, where we've got a little bit, we're 10, 20% over the market here and 10, 20% under the market there. And those are the weeks, hopefully, when those are correct, that we're going to cash. Every once in a while we get those wrong and we hit big as well, but that's unlikely. So yeah, that's our strategy. Now, other people don't do that. When you look at some of the top players, their MMA, they get very narrow, and they're taking in NFL, they may take like 3 stacks and just then diversify everything else, and they're just going to go with 3 particular stacks or 2 games or whatever it may be, and they're going to stack it to the tilt and then be diverse elsewhere. We don't play it that way in any of the sports really, and certainly in the NFL. If I know right away, if there's a player who's 40% and I'm 10%, and I didn't intentionally do that, I probably messed up. So, if I'm looking at it, if someone's 40% and I'm 30, okay, that's fine. Right. So somewhere along the line, I didn't do something correctly for the way we play it. Again, it's not necessarily the best way or the only way, because I've seen some really good players who do it differently, but it's just a matter of, again, you take that the stock analogy and the finance analogy. It's what is your risk tolerance, right? So if you want to go ahead and fade the Apples of the world, where you have a higher risk tolerance than maybe the person who's just trying to beat the S&P by a half a point to a point on a year in, year out basis. You may, on a given year, fading Apple, you may crush the S&P one year, but you're also going to get crushed in other years. So it's just a matter of what your curve wants to be. Do you want the huge spikes and the up and down, or are you more content with the flatter curve? So we kind of play the flatter curve. We're hoping to hit on the edges. We're hoping to hit those standard deviations on both sides. So our lineup should be god awful and hopefully really good on both sides if we did it correctly. And then on those occasions when it's really, really good, you have to win, especially on the milli. The milli is just kind of throwing money away unless you actually hit the milli, because it's just so top heavy. But, we play it in the hope. We haven't hit it yet. We play it in the hopes of hitting it. But when you play in these big GPPs and you look at the structure for the payouts, if it's top heavy, you especially need to get those multiple standard deviations over the mean on your lineup in order to make any profit on them. So that's just a little bit of our philosophy and how we go about it. Again, it's not the only way to play, and it's really dependent on your risk tolerance.
Yeah, I mean, incredible breakdown right there. And again, take notes. I just want to also hit on, JBC in stats. These guys absolutely crushed last year. Shipped 100K multiple times. We've all seen it. We've all seen the leaderboards. And then later this afternoon, we got Big T JSU Whistles doing the Print Factory. It's all free today. All free. And you're going to get Whistles, who is, again, another one of the top players in the world, up there with JBC and John. And you're going to get his perspective. It's going to be live, free on the Print Factory later this afternoon. And then Showdown Kings tonight with Wiley, our guy Wiley, who is our leader here now. And this dude has been a Showdown GOAT year over year. Just in PGA, what was that, a week and a half ago? He hit what? First, second, third, fourth for like 160K. I've never been more excited for our Showdown product than I have, this year. I think we're positioned really well. And not just us, we're bringing it for all of the members, and we want to see the members up top. We want to see the members shipping alongside with us. Rubio, anything to add on? I do want to. So we got a few more minutes here. I want to get everyone's kind of takes on the game, favorite players, and then we'll get out of here. But anything to add on to that conversation?
Now, when John preaches, I listen. And I was just spending my time listening there, AP, and he's exactly right. You're exactly right. I like how you related it back to the stock market, or just financial world too. That's pretty good. I want to follow up. Yeah, I read that.
I've actually been an expert witness in a couple of cases. So
I did want to follow up with what Kevin Walsh said earlier. He just had a quick question. Is there a reason why I don't have an exposure column? Your exposure column only appears after you build. You probably have already built. You're wondering where it is. You have to scroll way to the right to see it. What I usually do is I grab it and then I drag it over and put it as in. So that way it's easier to see for myself and for the show as well. But that's just something to drag over if you can't see it right now. Just scroll over to the right. Yeah, no, you're dead on, man. This is you get me more excited for tonight, man. These standard deviation talks. I wasn't great in math, but it does get me 6 to midnight pretty quick.
The statistics talk, that's one I like as well. I was okay in that subject. But man, college was a long time ago, Rubio. Less for you, but for me, it seems like ages ago, which is just crazy to think about. But again, if you're over on the website and if you look at the NFL column, we don't have everything live yet. I think by the end of today, it's going to be live, though. We're going to have all of these sheets up and ready to go, at least by the end of the day. You're going to get the core plays. You're going to get everything that you're accustomed to getting when it comes to our content over here at Run Pure Sports. I absolutely love what we're doing with the projections team that we put together, which JBC stats fully on board and are driving that too with Bryce, Mangone, Captain. Those guys are putting the work in. Our projections are going to be really, really good this year. Let's give our final thoughts on tonight's game, and then let's get out of here. John, let's go to you first.
Well, final thoughts. Yeah, so I appreciate all the praise, but here's the guy who does this professionally who got the worst possible line possible. I took Kansas City -6.5 a couple of weeks ago. Couldn't foresee the Kelsey news, but I still like KC tonight. I will tell you this. You're not going to get rich betting against Mahomes. So to me, you either you stay away from Mahomes or you don't pay. I know Rubio's laughing. He'll hit his other games tonight. I'm terrible, by the way, on my you'll be fine. I'm terrible whenever I go public with a play, but I do like Kansas City here, even at the 4.5. I think that's it's almost like they're sucking you in with that number. So that does scare me, but I still like it. I do think we'll get a lot of points. I didn't touch anything on the total. And then just one other quick thing, just for Run Pure and myself, JBC, like we came in here to win. We came into we started sports betting together. We've done DFS, and now here at Run Pure, like we want to make you guys winners. I'm working my ass off trying to figure out what I could possibly give you guys to kind of that's really easy to digest in spreadsheet forms, whatever tools that are going to help you guys become winners. That's really our goal, and it just excites me when I see all of the winning in the Discord and guys posting all their screenshots. So I'm looking forward to the NFL season. Hopefully we could all do well here, learn a little something. And the flattery, I don't really, I don't love, I don't enjoy it, but I am appreciative. So thank you all for that. And I'm happy to be on there with you guys. I'll be here every week.
Yeah, a humble man is Stats, but again, obviously I'm biased towards our product, but the Discord alone, I think, is worth the price of admission. The value that you guys have already brought is insane. You got people in there. I mean, there are people chatting all day. And then you got JBC just in there basically, telling everyone how he does it, which is, you don't see that at many other places. That's something that you're getting here at Run Pure Sports. Rubio, what's your final thoughts on tonight's game?
All right, I got a couple final thoughts. My girlfriend, or my fiance, I should say, told me to have a great day. She loves me, and she doesn't know what she's in for the next 23 weeks. So I'm going to send her an "I love you" text, and I'll see her in 6 months. And then I'm really excited for this game because I've been bullish on the Lions all off season. We've been doing those best ball shows with JSU, and I'm really excited to see it all in action tonight. I think the Lions underperformed a little bit last year. I think the offense is really good, and I'm worried about the Chiefs' defense. And I was saying this all offseason. If Kelsey goes down, the Chiefs are in major trouble. I understand that Mahomes is the best player in the league. I'm going to stick to my words here. I'm doing the Lions money line a little bit. That's going to be my first bet. And then I also see the other bets here in Kentucky in person at Turfway Racetrack. So that's actually going to be a very nice time. But yeah, I'm with you guys. Like, I'm excited for the year. I'm excited for tonight. It looks like this process dialed down. Mangone beat me. I said it a week and a half ago, John. I told you. I said Mangone or I is going to ship sometime the next month. He beat me, but it doesn't count since it was MLB. And I don't play MLB, so it doesn't count. But the process is completely dialed in, and it's going to be a really fun season. I know it.
I mean, I play everything. It doesn't mean I win at everything. I soccer, for example, I often, donate to the soccer community, and you're welcome. Rubio, you're one of those goats, and I'm fine with that. We got to keep these communities, healthy, and I'm fine doing that to the soccer community. But my take tonight, I think obviously Chiefs win. I think they cover. I think Mahomes has an exceptional game like he always does, it seems like, in week one. Andy Reid always dialed, ready to go. I think MVS is the guy that has a big night. I feel like he's going overlooked a little bit. I think Mahomes catches him deep. Hopefully he catches the ball. I think he does, but that's my take tonight. With that, we're going to wrap this up. Hit the like, hit the subscribe on the way out. We appreciate all of you watching. NFL 17, 17% off for life again. After this, we got Cash Breakdown with Third and Schlong and Mangone. We got the Print Factory with Big T, JSU, and Whistles Go Woo. And then the show I'm really excited for, Showdown Kings with Wiley and JVC. On that note, Rubio, get us out of here.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day.